The backbone of like growing any small business is not only just like being there and like people connect with the people behind the businesses. I think more and more now. Back in 2022, you know, like where it was a culmination of just getting arrested, losing a job, relationships in shambles. I think that scared me the most was a doctor telling me that my pancreas was, if I continued to drink, my pancreas would explode.
Bad habits are formed in the white spaces on your calendar. Try to stay busy. Try to fill up your calendar with things that you have to do, and whether if it's work, put in your calendar, workout, bang, hour.
Yeah.
Meal prep, put it in, hour, and like stick to your calendar. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Down Podcast. Today's special guest drove in all the way from Connecticut.
Yes, sir.
Made a hike. Adam Vohra, founder of ARV Enterprises, host of the Finding Purpose podcast, and the director of partnerships at a bunch of magazines in the Fairfield and Westchester County area. Adam, thank you very much for joining us here on the Burnout Podcast.
Well, guys, thank you guys. That commute, you didn't warn me about the commute, but you know.
Well, you told me you were going to be here by 4 o'clock, so I was like, oh, he's going to be good.
Well, here's the thing: if I warned you, it might have been like, maybe come a different day.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm here, and I'm grateful to be here, and thank you both. It was nice to meet you both at the Impact Golf event, and yeah, man, this is exciting. The magazines that I am director of partnerships is Upper Westchester Lifestyle Magazine, Darien, New Canaan Lifestyle Magazine, and Greenwich Magazine.
Okay.
So
yeah, I wasn't gonna remember all that. So
no, I know it's a lot.
So, like I said, when we have our guests and they have a laundry list of things that they do, you know, me, I'll just botch it. So I just give Justin the that task.
That's fine.
If you got one title, I could do it, no problem. So what are those magazines entail? What's their?
They sound like they're lifestyle.
Yeah,
is it like gentlemen's lifestyle magazines,
actually they're more about their boutique magazines. So what they do is, what we do is we tell the story of the people who live in those respective communities, business owners, entrepreneurs. Obviously, advertising is going to be a huge part of any magazine, but you know, I think that you know those communities are very bred by the people who inhabit it, bred by the small businesses that really are the motor that makes it run. So we partner with these businesses and we tell their story, whether it's through an editorial, we incorporate events. You know, we really have a good platform that's not obviously only in print, but it's also a digital and then the social media component, which is super powerful. I think the coolest thing about it is that it's designed to target the readers that we want. So obviously, like in a lot of these businesses are luxury businesses. So when they partner with us, we strategically place them in 11,000 homes based on their property values, so that you know they're targeting essentially qualified leads.
Right. You're not putting them in. You know, like if you're Rolex, you don't want to be in a magazine that caters towards the lower class people. Yeah. They're not going to buy Rolex. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
exactly.
Right.
You know,
like
I mean, you don't, and it's also, you can't just like go to CVS and pick it up.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
so you want to, if you're in this magazine, like it's catered towards the people, the businesses. The magazine is marketed towards the people that these businesses want to market towards.
Exactly. People who can afford their products.
Right.
And so let me ask you this, because way back when we actually wanted to start our own magazine company. So before we started the podcast, we wanted to start a cigar subscription service, and we scrapped that idea. Then we wanted to do a cigar magazine. But my question is, you know, as everything is basically digital and online now, how does a magazine company or a magazine in general thrive in an industry in an environment like this?
That's a good question. I mean,
I'll put you on the spot.
Well, the readership that we hit, I mean, you got to think about it. Like 65% of them are women, 82% of them are married women. We're hitting, you know,
80% are married women.
Yeah. So we're hitting.
So wait, you said how many percentage?
Like the large majority of our readership are women, married women.
But you said so it's how many percent are just women?
I think it's like 62, 65.
And of that 65, 80% of those are married women.
Yeah, well, 82% of our readership is married.
Married in general. Oh, married in general.
So we're targeting, you know, if you really want to be, we're targeting the Real Housewives of
well, that's what I'm saying.
Westchester and Fairfield County.
Yeah, because the ones who really make the decisions.
If 80% of the magazine, if 80% is married and 60% is women, then if you want to take married women, right, what's 80% of 60? Okay, so 60 divided by
You're the engineer.
5 is 12 times 4 is 48%. So basically half of the magazine viewership is married women.
Yeah.
Half of your viewership. So like you send out this magazine and you're like, and you want to target married women, then what you like half every other person that marries reads this magazine is going to be married women.
Yeah. And I think that's like the strategy behind it, because, you know, working in those communities, you know, with the events and whatnot, those women have a lot of pull when it comes to where the family finances are going to be placed, when it comes what decisions are going to be made when it comes to their children. And
a lot of those women, they're like shopaholics. They'll buy everything, dude.
Oh my God.
They want to buy everything. They'll see on the magazine, honey, I want that.
Yeah. Shopping is their job.
You can buy it.
You know?
So,
100%. I mean, they have private shoppers, some of these people.
yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yo, I know a guy who used to work at the Saks Fifth Avenue on Greenwich Avenue, and that's exactly what he was. They had like a spot where it was you made an appointment and you came in and
They show you stuff. Yeah.
they walk you into a living room and you sit there and they serve you champagne and then they bring over a rack of clothing and he's just like, yeah, that looks good. You know what I mean? He's styling these women
100%.
And if they don't have it there, he calls the town car and they go into the city. And they go to Saks on Fifth Ave, and then they...
Or you could even like...
It's crazy what he used to do, bro.
I mean, it's wild that that's an actual thing.
You can even call ahead, like if you're in that caliber...
If you got it like that.
You can call ahead and say, listen, I'm coming to this store. I want you to have this, and this piece, and I want to see it. And they'll set it, and they'll have those pieces shipped. Like you make an appointment, and they'll be like, listen, you better make sure I have this, otherwise I'm not coming.
Yeah. But I mean, these women walk out and they just put like 40 grand on their Amex, 100 grand on their Amex.
That's like chump change
on a Wednesday, which is fucking wild.
It's just so crazy.
But that's it's kind of all relative, because like if you're making $10 million a year, what's $40,000 on your Amex? You know what I'm saying? So
that's like a $400
just to keep the wife happy.
But
just to keep the wife happy.
Just to keep the wife happy.
I mean, what Bezos just dropped $80K on his wedding?
Dude, that is
80K. You want to hear what's nuts? We
80K.
Whatever it was. I think it was.
No,
it wasn't. It was
80 million.
No, it was 80 million. It was 60 million. It was 60 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But
80K.
But I was having lunch with my wife and one of her friends, and we were talking about the Bezos wedding, $60 million, and she's like, "Imagine just having like 60 million." I said, "Yeah, but hold on, it's relative." I said, because think about what he's worth. Okay, he's worth like $100 billion. Okay.
Yeah.
So $100 billion. If you spent 1% of your money, that's $1 billion. If you spent half of a percent of your money, that's 500 million. If you spent,
it's fucking wild.
If you spent half of that, so that's a fraction. So half, that's like a quarter of a percent is $250 million. So it keeps going. Now he spent 60 million. So he spent a quarter of a percent. So I was like, now think about this. You make 100 grand a year. 1% is $1,000. A quarter of that is 250. And a quarter of that is $60. That's like if you make 100 grand a year spending $60 on your wedding. That's the equivalent of him spending 60 million.
That's 100% true.
And I broke it down like that. I go,
and that's only 100 billion. He's worth more than that.
And that's like if you make, that's not what you're worth. That's if you make 100K a year. You might be worth more.
Yeah.
But if you make 100K and you spend the same amount of percentage, it's $60. Could you imagine
that's
that?
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, honey, our budget is $60.
You can't. I can't fathom that. I can't fathom going to Italy and spending a wedding for 250 people, $60.
No shot.
No shot.
Damn. Less than a Benji. Less than a fucking Benji for the whole wedding. It's crazy, dude. It doesn't make any sense. That's how much money these guys have.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Those guys are spending
crazy money.
You know what? I'm gonna buy the whole store. I'm gonna buy everything. Just one of everything. I'll try it on when I get home. Yeah.
Not a big deal. I'll pay $100 for a cup of coffee.
And I'm gonna fly. You know what, honey? Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take the helicopter. We're gonna fly from the Hamptons into Manhattan. They're gonna drop us off at the building. We're gonna buy everything in the store. We're gonna try it on home.
Dude, it's crazy.
That's what they do.
I mean, have you seen some crazy shit with the? I'm sure you have because you said it's Upper Westchester, Upper Fairfield, and Upper
Westchester, Darien, Canaan, Greenwich.
Oh, okay, got it.
I mean, there's a good amount of money there, but you know what the thing is, and I think a lot of these communities get kind of a bad rap because like the people are really cool, and I think everyone thinks they're like super pretentious, and you don't get me wrong, you're gonna get that shit everywhere, but like most of the people who I've met within these communities are awesome and like want to help you and want to learn more about you and want to share their wisdom. And I think that's like speaks more to who they are than just the wealth.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I
That's
started
good to hear.
It is, dude. I mean, like, because I started working there when I was working at Equinox in Greenwich, right? And I was working on the sales team there, and that's when I started meeting all these people, and I was like, well, like, you know, this is fucking wild, like, you know, but you wouldn't know because they're the most like below the radar. And it's like and then they walk by
a lot of
Steve
them
Jobs.
are like Steve Jobs.
A lot of them are.
Yeah,
dude. They'd walk by my office and someone would be like, "Oh yeah, that guy's like a VP of Bridgewater," you know, or that guy's a VP over at Blackstone.
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck?" You know, he's wearing
that happened to my buddy used to work in Manhattan. He used to work at one of the restaurants, Lavo, and he used to have people that come in. And I'd be sitting there having dinner. And he's like, "You see that guy over there?" And the guy's in like joggers and a t-shirt. He goes, "It's the CFO of Swarovski Crystal." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, you see that guy over there? He's like the prince of Persia or some shit."
Yeah.
It's like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, that guy gave us a $50,000 tip cash last night." I'm like, you would have no. He's in like sweatpants and a baseball cap.
Well, that's what people say about like Mark Cuban. Like Mark Cuban, he just wears his fucking black t-shirts and you know, like I was listening to some podcast or something, and this guy was talking about how he's earned that right. You know, like the most powerful person in the room isn't the dude in the suit. It's the guy sitting in the back of the room in a black t-shirt, like watching everyone. And like that's like changed my perspective, like when it comes to just.
I always
like,
see.
people.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good suit, though.
I do love a good suit.
I love a good suit, though.
love a good
Something.
suit,
I mean, listen. You know, the billionaire in a nice suit looks pretty badass. You know, hopping out of a Bentley.
You
You
always
know,
see
looks
that
pretty
comparison. You always see like wealth, and it's like a Steve Jobs and like a white T-shirt, flip flops, and sweatpants, and then not wealthy, and it's like guy in a Gucci suit. You know, big old chain. Freaking, you know, Prada shoes and stuff that doesn't really matter, and it's like. No,
but if you like to dress up and you're wealthy, not wrong. Like some
some
people like
I would
it.
Probably,
you know?
I would probably be.
I'd probably be in
a
a suit too.
Yeah.
No, I'd probably still be shopping at Marshalls and like Kohl's and shit. Just because.
No, like on every. But like if I'm going out
if I'm
to
buying
dinner,
a suit, I'm gonna go top.
If I'm going out to dinner though, I'm dressing up.
Yeah.
Okay, but if I'm just chilling, I'll be in.
Yeah.
But
The Burn Down Podcast polo.
yeah, now you got to rep. We used to be suited. Like,
Really?
and some of these, like right here, this was the old one. We used to be suited in every episode.
That's fucking
That's how we started. I was the Dapper Cigar.
I think until we started
then-
getting merch, which was probably like way over 100 episodes in, I want to say like maybe halfway in, maybe like around 150 or so. That's when we started like just dressing down. We used to be in because when people would come on, they're like, "Oh, you know, I know you guys dress in suits, so I had to come dressed to impress." And now people come
it's
dressed
all
to
merch.
impress, and we're still like in.
The thing is, though, now it's like because like Eric said, we didn't have the merch.
Yeah.
And we weren't just gonna rep like a T-shirt. I was like, now we have all the merch. So if I'm wearing merch.
Yeah.
Now I could be in freaking boxers underneath because you can't see it, but like I'm wearing merch. Okay.
I mean, you see that from our boys Francis and Tony. All they wear is "Why not you?"
Yeah.
You know, everywhere you go.
Everywhere
you go. Because who wants, you know, if you
Even
have a
him, he's
brand,
wearing it,
I mean,
you
you got your own brand.
Yeah, I'm wearing the branding too. You know, it's funny because I love like connecting with other podcasters because I always like to pick their brain and their approach, and you know, you guys have been doing it for 5+ years now. Like that's awesome. You know.
So how long have you been doing yours? That's a good segue into your podcast,
dude. I've been doing it for like. Man. I'm on episode. I'm on episode 65, 63.
Okay.
You know, so like I just finished my first year, and I was able to really transition into like a more better studio. But like it's funny because like when I first started I would wear like the button up and like like the business cash, and like that's I do wear that like regularly like on there because usually I'm doing it during a work day.
Right.
But now like people do the same thing. They're like, oh, like what should I wear? And I'm like, I don't really care what you wear. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna try to look fresh, but like you wear what you got to do. But like like watching hearing you guys talk, especially before this episode, about how you've grown the podcast and the roster of guests that you have, that's awesome stuff, and I just want to tip my hat to both of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up a stat for you really quick.
Yeah, because what I was telling you told me when we met last week. I have 65 episodes. That's way more than the average podcast. I think the average podcast is super low.
I'm looking it up right now.
It's like 14 episodes.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, and they don't last long. The podcast stats are crazy. I might have it in my phone somewhere about these podcasts.
I'm gonna look it up right now because there's a here, ready? So,
let's see.
What percentage of podcasts make it past 10 episodes?
Let's see here. Is this it? No.
So it says roughly 44% of podcasts make it past 10 episodes.
I have it right here on my phone.
Oh, there you go. So you have it.
So if you're a new so this is about new episodes, right?
Okay.
So it's like percentile. So if you have more than 32 downloads in your episode, that's 50. It's top 50% of podcasts. Only 30.
That's wild.
Only 32.
It's only 30 listens.
That's
crazy. You're in the top
Yeah.
half because there's so many podcasts and so many people don't even make it past 10.
Yeah. Well, I think
it says about a quarter of podcasts only have one episode.
That's fucking.
So that means they start and they quit.
They start and they quit. Yeah.
Right. And then half of the podcasts start and they stop after 10. And they said there's only about a third of the podcasts make it past 10 and then continue publishing regularly. So if you're up to like 60, 65, you're already in the top like 2% of podcasts.
It's funny because I've done 65 episodes, never repeated a guest, which I take a lot of pride in.
Yeah.
Because it means like I'm connecting with more people. So I'm super grateful for that. But people don't realize how much goes into a podcast.
It's a tremendous amount of work.
Like how many times do you guys meet someone, they talk you talk about your podcast, and they're like, "Oh, I really want to do a podcast," and you're like, "All right," and then they like ask you for help, and then you start asking them the real questions, like, "Hey, like, what do you envision, or like, what type of equipment are you ready to invest in, and blah blah," and then they're like, "Oh, like I didn't fucking know," and like a lot of times when people ask me, I'm like, really, like start virtually, like if you really serious about this, start with Riverside, start with Zoom, whatever.
That's all you need, right here.
Exactly.
You know many people I said, they go, I don't know how to start it. I said, do you have an iPhone? They go, yeah. I said, go to your iPhone. I said, go to the homepage, go to
voice recording.
Go to search, right? And you just type in record. And they have literally voice memos.
Yeah.
And you hit go. Hi, my name is Justin. This is the Burn Down Podcast. Welcome to episode 1. We're going to talk about blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. Done. And then here's your... Hi, my name is Justin. This is the Burn Down Podcast. Welcome to episode 1. We're done.
Yeah.
There is your episode. And then you can literally take it from here and you can hit you can like export it. Hit the dots. Hit the 3 dots and you can say share and then you can share it. Bang, and you can upload it to whatever you want. Share it to Dropbox and then upload it to your platform.
The hardest part.
And I said that's literally off your phone. The audio is pretty decent. You want to get more? Now go on to Amazon, type in microphone, Bluetooth microphone.
Easy.
Hook it up, or even put your headphones in. Said you have all the tools. You're just lazy. You don't want to do it.
I mean, that's how I started mine. Like I was doing Riverside in my living
How'd you like? Do you like Riverside?
I love it.
Yeah.
I still use it. I use it for all my
Podbean.
No. Riverside is like a Zoom.
Oh, like a recording thing. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you meant to host.
Yeah.
I've seen ads for it, and I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. But we don't really do virtual anymore.
Well, I don't do virtual anymore, but what I use it for is when I get the full length episode from my editor, then I upload it into it and I can pull clips out of it.
Oh, really?
So I use it in that way, and it's really efficient because since I got Riverside a year and a half ago and to where it is now, it's like a lot more efficient. So
so it can make clips for you.
Yeah.
And do you tell it what to do, or it auto?
It can generate clips. It can generate like the length of the clips. It can generate which speaker to focus on. I love it, and for me, it's because I'm very particular about, what clips I'm putting out, and like what message, I want to capture of my guests or myself, and I use it to put out
Riverside
content
does that for you.
Yeah.
Because did you know that ChatGPT can do that too?
No, I didn't. Really?
So I just found out this the other day. I was like messing around, and I asked it. I'm like, hey, if I give you an episode, 30 minutes. It's like I probably one, how would I get it to? Like I can't just upload 30 minutes. And 2, could you clip it and make reels for me? And ChatGPT was like, yeah. So just give me the Dropbox link. I'll download it and I'll make clips. Ask me how many clips you want and what if there's any topic that you want to talk about, I'll find it and I'll make it for you. I said, no shit.
That's fucking wild.
And I'm like, are you kidding? Dude, it's like
you gotta pay for a premium, right?
I haven't tried it yet.
Because I'm curious how it would do it. Would it like generate it within that like?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just asked if it could, and it said yes. Because I asked it. I said, hey, if I have an audio file, and I have a video file, because we have the audio here because we put the podcast, but then we have the video, and you have to sync them.
That's what we do,
right? Because that camera microphone is not good. This microphone's much better.
Yeah.
So I asked it. I said, hey, if I give you an audio file and 2 video files, can you sync them and flip between the video? He goes, yes, I can. Just give me the audio.
That's wild. That is so wild.
So I'm gonna try it, but now granted, I think you might have to get the upgraded version, which is like $20 a month. But I was very interested because I'm like, dude, because I've seen the ones where
don't worry, Nick, we're still gonna use.
I know,
you.
but there's a million other AI platforms you could pop in
Opus.
and make a clip.
I mean,
some just don't do a good job. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they're doing better. I don't know.
I don't know if it's gonna be good or not. It might be, but I was like,
It's just hard for me to imagine like artificial intelligence know what I like. What you said, we're very particular about the message and clips that we want. So unless you specifically tell it in the timeline or whatever, it's hard for me to conceptualize. Like, let me just upload it and just expect them to know what I want.
But the reason I bring it up is to go on to the fact where people say, I want to start a podcast, but I don't know how to do it. I don't have the time. I don't have this. I don't have that. Yeah. I go, listen, you have an iPhone. So you can record and you can record video, and you have all of these platforms with AI that can just make it for you.
Yeah.
They can make you clips. Stupid. You can upload the clip into it and say, hey, make this into a viral clip on Instagram, and they'll freaking do it for you.
That's what someone told me early on, when I was contemplating launching a podcast, and he was like,
What made you want to launch a podcast? Let me take you a step back real quick.
Let's get into your.
All right, so
well, let's delve into this.
I know you were on your answer, but
no worries, because it kind of all ties in. So 3 years ago, I got sober, right? So I got sober 3 years ago.
I didn't know that. I wouldn't have offered you a drink.
It's all right, dude.
People
offer me drinks all the fucking time.
Good for you, man.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Hard stop.
Good for you.
But so I got sober 3 years ago, and you know
what? I feel bad now. I wouldn't have.
Don't feel bad at all.
I didn't know that.
You kidding me? I have best friends who still.
No, I don't. I have a friend that went sober too, and I don't drink around him because I know that he had difficulty with it and went sober. So I was like, no, I don't need to drink.
Oh no,
I didn't know that.
I don't mind it at all. Don't sweat
that.
Good
for you,
all.
Man. That's awesome.
Good shit. I'm gonna put this over here now. I feel bad.
Guys, don't even worry about it.
Good job, Justin. No,
you know what? Good for you.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Who cares?
You know what? You went sober. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. There you go. Listen.
That's really good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
That's honorable.
But when I did that, I kind of jumped into the personal development space, and I connected with my friend Brandon. Did you guys meet Brandon? Brandon Godoris. He was at the event.
You
probably did.
Does he have an Instagram?
Yeah.
What's his Instagram?
Is it Godoris? BGAYDORUS.
BGAYDOURS. Matt Gadoris.
That's his brother.
Oh, Brandon Gadoris. Here it is.
Let me see. I have better recognition of faces.
Guy on the left. Yeah, I think we did meet him.
Guy on the left.
Yeah, he was definitely hanging out with Vinny next door to you.
Yes, he was in a suit.
He's probably in a polo, if I know Brandon.
Was he in a polo?
Probably in a fucking polo.
I think that's who I'm thinking of.
I don't know.
Regardless, so I met him, and I jumped in this personal development space, and I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. I was working Equinox, my boy Rob, he was like, you need to meet my friend, blah blah blah, and so I met him, and then I entered his public speaking seminar, where he hosts public seminars throughout the country, right? And you go up there and you do a keynote, and it's the first time I ever really shared my story, and I was like, all right, this is cool. So then I started speaking more and doing these things. I think I did 4 of those seminars with them. Then I ended up speaking at his convention. And, I was like, all right, cool. There is power in my story. And I started talking about my past and vulnerable shit. Right. And then he was like, bro, you really should get it out. You really need to start talking to your audience on social media. And I was like, fuck that. You know what I mean? I don't want to stare at a phone and be all corny and I always thought it was people were so corny when they did that. Or they're driving, they're like, hey guys, I don't know why. I always thought that.
I agree.
No, I
agree.
It's funny because I know exactly how you feel. When we did the first one, if you watch the first episode, there's no flow, there's no rhythm, because we didn't know how to, and you just feel awkward. You're who the hell is gonna care what I'm saying on nobody's gonna care.
Well, that was it,
And you're why am I putting this out there? But it's
but someone is 10 million other people are already doing what you're doing.
And the thing is, it's what's so hard to get out of your head is stop giving a shit what other people are gonna think, because what clicked in my brain was when you would post something, you'd be like, oh, I wonder what other people are gonna think. Are they gonna like this? They're not gonna like this. But then what clicked is when I'm watching somebody else, am I thinking wow, this guy's corny, or wow, this is still... No, I'm just scrolling past it. If I like it, I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. If I don't like it, I just scroll past it. I don't give a shit. I'm not sending it to Eric, look how shitty this guy is.
Unless it's every once in a while you see those really cringy people videos.
But I'm when I started realizing how much I don't think about everybody else's posts made me realize how much they don't think about my posts. The only time I think about them is when it relates to me, and then I'm like, oh, I connect with that. I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
So it's like the
I mean,
only
even
time
when you share it and you don't like it, it's still engagement.
right?
Yeah.
But most of the time,
it's
like,
worth
I'll
more.
share it.
Counts.
Most of the time, I'll share it when I like it, which is good engagement. So I'm like, so who gives a shit? Like, post it, man. Because if people don't care, if they like it, they're gonna share it. Great, that's good engagement. If they don't like it, they're either gonna scroll past it, or they're gonna share it with somebody like, look at this, look at this loser, and then it's engagement because they share it. So I'm like, okay,
so funny.
who cares?
Yeah, but like so like that was my way of dodging that. I was like, all right, like I'm not gonna speak to a camera and be like, hey guys, but I'll
Speak to a
start a
microphone.
podcast,
Speak to a microphone.
and I'll talk to someone, and if I say something cool, I'll clip it up and I'll post it solo.
Now, what you can do, if you really wanted to, you can speak into a microphone and put it into AI and be like, hey, put this like really suave English guy as the face of my podcast. Use my voice, but make you don't even have to use your face. You can make these AI videos, put somebody else's face up there.
Yo, it's so funny because I have a friend and he owns his company, and it's like a tech company, and he's literally building a version of him that's AI.
Yeah.
In different, like sitting there, then sitting on a couch, then standing in front of a backdrop, then standing.
And it's
in front
all
of a street.
AI.
And he's programming it where he could literally just like type into it, bro, and like it'll say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And it's him. It's like an
him.
exact replica of him.
So he can say hey, I'm sitting here on the top of the Eiffel Tower, blah 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 blah, and it'll spit out of him on top of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, his mannerisms, his face.
that's
it's
scary.
So but it's like
That's scary.
it's crazy because now like whenever I like look at something online, I'm like, is this fucking real?
You know,
Bro, a lot of my algorithm is like AI.
Yeah.
Like AI meme videos, like making fun of different people.
like the little baby videos.
Bro.
You see those baby ones where
I
it's
love
like Joe
those.
Rogan's podcast, but he's a baby.
Bro, I think the same thing. I'm on Instagram and stuff. I'm like, is this AI? And like, I don't know what it is, but you can like, there's a slight delineation where you can tell if
tell
it's
a little bit.
AI.
If it's
or
like
not.
clean or if it's like really,
if
really
it's, like,
sharp.
But you know what?
yeah.
You know what really, like, what I think about when I see that stuff is, okay, that's where we are now. In 5 to 10 years, what the hell is going to happen with the criminal justice system when you got a guy who's I think he did
thought about this
and he's
5
just like,
years
well, I
ago.
never said that. Well, I have a video of you right here saying it in the exact
Deep
location,
fakes.
holding the murder weapon.
Yep.
And he's like, that's not me. Well, it sure does look like you. Sounds like you.
Yep.
And how do you prove that it's not? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Now,
It's
there's
gonna be so crazy.
there's
gonna be
probably something.
fucked.
There's probably something embedded in the file that says that it's AI. Like if you take the code of the file,
But
because
someone's
everything
going
is
to know how to
zeros.
manipulate it and then just fucking make it.
Yeah.
I know, but there's got to be something. in it.
Yeah, I agree.
I
But
mean,
that's what I
think
think. I'm like,
in the future, like 80% of what we see on social media or in
Right
media in
now.
general is going to be fake.
right now, I think a majority of it is not real.
I mean, I think right now we're probably like 30-40%. But when it's like 80%, like that's crazy.
You just have to be. What's going to happen is it's going to get to a point where
You're not going to have content creators. You're just going to have
So it's
content
like-
creators through AI. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Well,
make
yeah.
me this video of me doing this and blah, 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 and talk about this.
And I
Boom.
feel like it'll get to the point of you're familiar with the law of diminishing returns, right?
Yeah.
So like I feel like we're going up, and it's gonna get to a point where it's like you can't get so everything's gonna be so AI that we're just gonna drop off, and like social media, all this stuff is just gonna go down the toilet because nobody's gonna trust anything. We're already at the point where nobody trusts the government; they don't trust anything they see on the TV. So you're gonna get to this point where when everything is AI, people are gonna be like, "Well, I can't even freaking watch this anymore because nothing's real."
Well, I think
it's gonna
one
like
of my
just drop
friend-
off the cliff.
Yeah. One of my friends, he always says AI won't replace you, but somebody who knows how to use AI will. And you know, like that's like such like
For now.
Fair enough. But like, I mean, we see it every fucking day. We go into Target, and how many like, what's the ratio to auto scan and actual registers now? It's so crazy if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's wild. So it's interesting. It's kind of scary to see like where things are gonna go.
That is nuts.
But so let's get back to we go off on tangents.
This is what we do.
I love this.
But this is why there's
This
no
is great.
It's just conversation. We'll just figure out where it goes.
Before we,
And we try to bring it back. Okay.
well, I just learned something new about you. So
Yeah.
you do have an interesting story.
Yeah.
Because like Justin said, he has family and friends. I have family and friends that are recovering alcoholics.
Yeah.
Do you share a piece of that story? You know, do you share that? Do you share that openly?
Yeah, I share pretty openly.
Because
I talk
love,
about it.
I love winning stories. I love people overcoming adversity, being the better version of themselves. So I would love to hear, your version of you winning.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, guys, like, so, like, before I started working in, before 2022, I was working in the restaurant industry, right? So I was working in the restaurant industry. I went to UMass Amherst, was in hospitality and tourism management. I left there and jumped into the restaurant industry and like full throttle. Like thought I'd be like killing it. And like I was addicted to like fast money too. Like fast money, party. Like work hard, party harder, and that's what we did. We'd go out after work, we'd get hammered. But like for me, it's like I could kind of like identify that from a very like the first time I drank, I knew I was gonna have a problem. If I'm being 100% honest with myself, like.
Can I ask you if there's any history in your family of it?
Not that I know of. No,
does anyone in your family have addictive personalities?
No, like my family's like so fucking disciplined. It's crazy. Like my dad was like the most disciplined person I know.
Do you think that if you hadn't gotten into that industry, you wouldn't have had a problem? Because I do think that industry.
I mean, I think it definitely accelerated it or made it intensified it more.
Because that industry is full of that stuff. Yeah. Like you had said, you work hard, but you party really hard.
I mean, I think if you're an addict or an alcoholic, you're an addict or an alcoholic. Regardless of what industry you are, once you get a taste of it and it gives you that relief and you get that moment where you have arrived the second you put it into your body, it doesn't matter whether you're a doctor, a lawyer,
right.
And I could say that because I've met, addicts and alcoholics from all walks of life. Like they weren't just working in the restaurant industry. And I've also met sober alcoholics and addicts working in the restaurant industry who, really worked internally on what they had to overcome it, where they were able to handle it. Like right now, like maybe, if you caught me 5 years ago and I was on one of those tries when I tried to get sober and I saw you guys drinking wrong, I'd probably be like, all right, like, because I needed to fit in, so like a lot of it for me, it was more rooted in just like feeling less than and all that shit. You know what I mean? But once I, everything kind of came to a head and like you hit that really dark bottom and it's like, listen, I can continue to live the way I live, or I can make a conscious decision to seek help and, understand that I can't do this shit on my own, and I think that's really what happened to me back in 2022, like where it was a culmination of just, getting arrested, losing a job, relationships in shambles, and the thing, and I think that scared me the most was a doctor telling me that my pancreas was, if I continued to drink, my pancreas would explode and I could die. And
that was a wake-up call.
Yeah, hell yeah, that was a wake-up call. And I remember picking up the phone, calling my best friend Courtney, and being like, "Listen, like, I need help." She'd already been sober like 5 years, and I was just like, "I need help." And she was like, "Are you for real this time? Because I'll help you, but like, are you for real?"
And hearing that probably made it sink in like even more. When hearing somebody say like, "Well, are you for real this time, or are you just bullshitting me again?"
Hell yeah.
And you're like, "Fuck no." That like hearing that, like somebody says like, "Oh, I did try, but no, this is."
Yeah,
like this is
fucking real.
Yeah.
Now it's like life and death. And I think it was like that moment when, I mean, like how many times like have people you love like giving you advice or told you something, or like if you do it just for me, but like when a doctor is like, "Hey, like you will die," like that was, I think, really the wake up call, and something in me kind of just was like.
Did you stop cold turkey?
She flew me down to South Carolina, where she lives. She's like a sobriety coach, and she threw me down there in her parents' guest house. And I stayed there and I just like did what I already knew what I had to do. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the first time I tried to get sober. Like I tried like maybe like 4 or 5 times before. And, I knew what I had to do. I had to go to meetings. I had to, connect to other sober people. I had to, fucking really humble myself, frankly, because I think a lot of it is ego. Like, I think a lot of people nowadays talk about like, "Oh, I don't drink, sober life," and they almost romanticize it. And I think it totally diminishes the people fight that actually people have to embark on every day.
Yeah.
So when I break that down, where it was like, for me, it was just like, let's just put one foot in front of another and like
just make it through today.
Exactly.
And
that's how it is. And that's how everything is. And now like in my post sobriety career, as I like to call it, like, that's kind of the mentality I take with everything. It's like, just Rome wasn't built in a day.
Take the first step.
Yeah, the podcast isn't going to blow up after 5 episodes.
Exactly.
Like understand that everything is a process, and it's like, win each day.
Yeah, and it's also like staying present. Like, don't worry about the long run. Like, what can you do right now? Stay in the present. What can I do right now? And right now I can make the effort to not touch the bottle. To, if you want to do post your podcast, record your podcast, or if you're trying to lose weight, get in the gym. Like, just get today. What can I do today to get me closer to my goal? And then let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes around, what can I do today? Don't think, all right, I have to do this, this, and this for the next 5 years. No. Don't worry about that. If you worry about today and focus on what you have to do right now and be present in the moment, focus on what you have to do, the tomorrows will take care of themselves. Just keep doing that over and over and over and over again. And the next thing you know, here we are 3-4 years later, and we're hitting here having a drink, and you're like, it doesn't even think. Yeah. Like when I asked him, like, you sure you don't want anything? And I asked you twice. You want something? Nah, just water. You sure you don't want anything? You want a bourbon? Or no, I'm good. Was it? And it's not even like a thought to say, maybe. Yeah. No, it was just, nope, I'm good.
And that's why. And I always say a lot that
it takes time.
That takes a lot of time. Yeah.
I think, alcohol is harder than any other hard drug because alcohol is legal. Alcohol is more of a social aspect. Yeah. You smoke crack, you do heroin, you got to be around those type of people all day, every day.
You got to seek it out.
You can't go, you're not just going to your family's house and say, hey, you want some heroin? No, you're going to go to your mom and your dad or grandma's house. Hey, you want a beer? You want a drink?
You go to a restaurant.
You
go to a restaurant, you have dinner, or you're sitting and everybody's like, oh, let me a bottle of wine, let me get a scotch, let me get a bourbon, this and that. It's not like you go to a restaurant, what do you want? I'm going to have a steak and a side of heroin. Like,
I heard someone say that once. It's like they're not shooting heroin in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's everywhere.
And then even on TV, it's not like you're having advertisements and commercials for heroin and opioids. You're having, you might have commercials for like the war against opioids, but you have commercials for Michelob Ultra and Bud like this and wine that and Angels Envy that, like.
And it's all like you said, romanticized.
They make it like a
The Sopranos. Fucking dude, that's how I used to live. Fucking.
And the thing is,
Chris Moltisanti. You talking about Chris Moltisanti?
A little bit, dude, a little bit. I didn't kill nobody's dog, but yeah.
Another example is
Justin hasn't seen The Sopranos, so he doesn't get it.
I've seen a couple. I've seen like
this guy's seen every movie, everything underneath the sun. He's never watched The Sopranos. Isn't that a sin?
Season 1.
Tony Soprano is one of the greatest cigar smokers ever.
I know. We had them on the show. I watched first season.
You had Gandolfini on the show?
No. We had Jackie Jr. We had Patsy. You had what's his face?
Eugene.
Eugene.
Dan Grimaldi played Eugene. Robert Finaro played. Dan Grimaldi played Patsy. Robert Finaro played Eugene, and Jason Carbone played Jackie Peel Jr.
Yeah.
But to Eric's point is, whenever you hear or see something regarding heroin or crack or coke, anything like that, it's always
the word crack is like fucking wild. It's like,
but whenever you see those hard drugs, you see them in a negative light. Yeah. You see them in such like everybody's looking down upon that. But whenever you see alcohol, you see it in such a positive party.
It's glamorized.
It's glamorized.
That's why I think it's way harder.
So it's much harder.
Social lubricant,
Yeah.
It's funny because, I'd host luxury events, so it's like, and I go to a lot of events and, I do a lot of the networking. So it's always like an intricate component. It's like, and I bartended for fucking years, bro. You know what I mean? So it's crazy when, people like ask me for advice or I'm in a restaurant, like, I could look at a wine list and tell you what's good wine. Yeah, I could look at a wine list and tell you what's going to pair better with that. And they're like, oh, you don't drink. And I'm like, well, I did for fucking 15 decades.
I'm a pretty good I'm a veteran.
But honestly,
I retired, but like I'm fucking pro.
But there's there's two things. So one is, to Eric's point, is if you're trying to quit a hard drug, you can just remove yourself from that group of people, and then obviously it's gonna be some challenges and stuff, but you can just disassociate yourself, and it'll be, I don't want to say it's easier, but it's not in your face all the time. But with alcohol, pretty much no matter where you go, it's in your face, it's there. So it's hard. You can't really remove yourself from that group of people because everywhere you go there's gonna be that. But then the other side is with how do you know that this wine is good with that? Do you know that there's actually some like wine judges that don't drink?
Yeah.
They are wine.
I know wine sober master som.
Yeah, they are wine tasters. They're wine tasters, but they never swallow the wine. They don't drink, so they sip it and they spit it out.
Yeah,
and they go, I don't drink, but I'm a wine sommelier. How does that make sense?
Yeah,
I sip it. I swirl it. I get the flavors. I spit it out.
Yeah, I know a guy who does that. He was the general manager.
Granted, you probably get a little bit of alcohol in your mouth, but
probably about as much as mouthwash though. And,
yeah,
and he was a master somm, and he put together one of the best wine lists in Connecticut. And he doesn't drink.
Yeah.
And then he started his own supper club and built out that wine list. And
yeah,
it's crazy. The one thing I will say that I get what the concept of saying, like, okay, like, hard drugs aren't put in your face all the time. But I would say at the end of the day, like, when you're active and you're chasing something, you'll find it.
right.
Yeah. It's not just people, places, and things. It's
but
like
it is I think it's
shift.
a little harder to probably find hard drugs than it is to find.
You'd be surprised.
I mean.
Yeah.
If
you know how to get it, you can get it.
I'm speaking from ignorance because I've never sought out those type of drugs.
Yeah, don't ever.
Okay,
yeah.
so I wouldn't know. But I imagine, okay, if you're in that environment. But I also, man, like, if there's probably certain areas where it's harder to find. Like if you're in a very shitty neighborhood, it's probably easier to find there versus like if you're in, I don't know. For people that know, like Upper Brookville, where it's like wealthy.
I don't Upper Brookville.
It's a really wealthy neighborhood up here.
where Wolf of Wall Street was shot.
Like
really?
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's probably not a good reference because he was addicted to cocaine. What
happened?
I used to have an aunt who lived out in Brookville.
An aunt? Yeah. Well, she must have had some money.
Yeah. Well, that's probably Eric. Wolf of Wall Street is probably not a good analogy because he was addicted to opioids and cocaine.
Yeah.
So,
Wolf of Wall Street was wild.
Your aunt owned what?
A furniture store.
Oh yeah, she could have lived in Brookville for sure.
She was Persian. She owned. Persian Jewish. She owned furniture stores.
Oh, definitely, bro. Definitely.
Then she moved to Great Neck.
I mean, that's another affluent town.
So okay, so we want to get back into like the podcast stuff. We were talking about how you got on this journey where you had met this. She flew you down, and you were going through some of the initial stages of recovery. Now, describe if you're comfortable with it. Describe like how that was. Like, how did you go from there, those first stages, to where you are now, 3 years later?
Well, I think what it comes down to, and I think when it comes to change in general, it's really the little habits that make the biggest difference. So for me, it's like I was living this fast restaurant life, not sleeping, not eating well, not working out, fucking, you know what I mean? Like internal clock off whack. So
you're nocturnal at that point, almost.
Dude, it was wild.
Sleeping till
I was
4
doing a
o'clock
little blow here and there too, so it was just like, it was wild.
Yeah, probably because you're like, listen, I'm getting a little tired, now I'm getting a little bump, pick myself back up, and stay until 4. Yeah,
all day, and so it's like, like it wasn't uncommon for me to hear the birds chirping in the morning, and really what it was just like I think I made like an unconscious promise where I am going to do the opposite of everything I was doing before. So where I was waking up at like noon, I'm gonna wake up diligently at like. First it was 8, then it was 7, then it was 6. Now I wake up at like 4:30 now. So it's like pulling that there. Where I wasn't eating normal, I was like, I'm going to have like 3 square meals. You know what I mean? Like
wasn't
3 square
working out,
meals.
now you're like, I'm working out.
Like I'm just going to live like a fucking human being. You know what I mean? Like, but it was like those little habits and those little promises that you keep to yourself. Like, I don't know if you guys know Ed Milet, and he talks about that.
That's the second time I've heard that name.
Yeah, that name sounds super familiar.
He's great.
Somebody was telling us that on we were mentioning like Tony Robbins, like, oh, you got to check out like Ed Milet and all that because they were doing like Tony Robbins has his big events
conference. Yeah,
is that JD? Is that JD soon?
He might have mentioned that.
Right.
It's the second time I've heard it on the show.
Oh, you got to listen to stuff. But like one of the things he talks about is keeping promises to yourself. And that's how you build confidence. That's how you build self-esteem. That's how you build.
It's true. The little wins.
The little wins.
And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. I remember doing like journaling. Journaling was I haven't done it in a long time, but when I was doing the journaling was just making like a to-do list, and it could be the littlest of things. Mm-hmm. It says, but stacking up the wins, the little wins, right? So to-do list: brush your teeth, put on there, brush your teeth, make your bed, do your laundry, eat 3 square meals a day, work out, like little tiny things. Mm-hmm. Everything you can mark as a win. Go outside and take 5 big deep breaths of fresh air.
Dude.
Mark it as a win. And then at the end of the day, when you see win, stacking up the wins, you feel so good.
Dude, exactly. And have you ever seen that speech? It's like a commencement speech, I think, at University of Texas, and this admiral's up, and he's like,
make your bed,
change your life.
Yeah.
I think I have that book.
Yeah. Make your bed, yeah.
I think I have that book.
I think it's Make Your Bed and Change the World. Something like that. You know what I mean? And like, so true.
You start your day with a win.
And that's why that's saying, the real you is the
was the person when no one's watching, or were the person in the dark. Because
character is who you are when no one's watching. Yep.
Yeah,
it holds so much value because, and I think about it all the time. Like when I do shit when no one's watching, I'm like, damn, all right, good thing I did that.
Like, damn, I wish someone was watching.
Yeah, I wish someone was watching because this is fucking good shit. But it's so true, because if you do
That's
break
great.
those promises, or if you don't come through for yourself, you're just like, all right, whatever, all right, whatever, and then there's no sense of confidence, there's no self-discipline and consistency, and that's a big thing, I think, in today's society. No one wants to be held accountable. No one has any discipline, and no one really has any solid. I shouldn't say anybody, but a lot of what you see today, there's no real like hardcore morals for themselves to be good people and to be strong people within themselves.
And I've always said, I've said on the show a bunch, and I don't know if I'm just going to dub this and say that I came up with this, but
Here we go.
I've always said that
Here we go.
bad habits are formed in the white spaces on your calendar. So I've always said, like, if you're struggling, try to stay busy. Try to fill up your calendar with things that you have to do, and whether if it's work, put in your calendar, workout, bang, hour.
Yeah.
Meal prep, put it in, hour, and like stick to your calendar, because wherever there's empty spaces where you don't have something to do and you're just like sitting there, that's where you have bad habits that might form. You might be scrolling. You might be sitting there. Next thing you know, I don't have anything doing in my calendar from 12 to 5, and you wind up sitting on your phone scrolling from 12 to 5.
Well, I think also like a lot of people have like really big dreams and aren't willing to incorporate that structure, or, like have the discipline or actually do the work. And like from like that sobriety journey, like I think it taught me the value of like incremental gains.
The small wins,
I mean? Like small wins, and also like muscle memory, like incorporating routine.
And then you get to a point where if you don't do this routine, something's off. You feel like like if you have a schedule of working out, you're like, I'm working out these days, and if you miss and you go like 3 days without working out, like if I try to do it no more than 1 day of rest. So like I'll work out. If I miss the next day, then I'll work out again. I don't go more than 2 days.
You're the guest,
right?
so the guest usually doesn't smoke the cigar that
I know.
often because we're always talking.
But
besides Justin always talking.
But to those points, it's like, and then when you go a couple of days, you're like, something, I feel weird. I get agitated. I'm like, you're off. So it's like, to your point, is you build this routine of, this is the shit that I'm doing every single day. Without fail, this is what needs to get done. And if it doesn't, you feel off. You're like, it'll be like 11 o'clock at night. Like, I didn't do something today. I didn't do that.
Well, on the back end, though, it's also important that, like, if you do miss something, don't beat the shit out of yourself over it. Understand, like, tomorrow's another blank canvas.
Give yourself grace.
Yeah, give yourself some fucking grace, because, like...
To an extent. You can't give yourself grace, like...
No, but, like...
Oh, I didn't work out today. That's okay. I didn't work out tomorrow. That's okay. I didn't work out the next... That's okay. That's not grace. Now you're just being lazy.
But, like, if you forgot to make a bed, right? Don't give it, like, the world is over. And, like, me... that's how I can get sometimes, where it's like, oh, it's like the end of, no, like give it the credit that it's due.
It's okay.
Understand that tomorrow's a new day and you can do it the right way.
Yeah.
Right.
You just that's the reflection at the end of the day. It's like you have all of these things, right? Let's say you have 10 items that you had to do, and you did 8 of them. Don't harp on the 2. Be like, I did 8. Yeah. Did 8 out of 10.
Roll it over to the next day and get it done.
That was a good day. It wasn't a great day. It was a good day. Okay. If I've got now tomorrow, I got to do all 10. And it's like, now you do all 10. All right, bang. I had a look. Now I did it. And now how many full days, how many 10 out of 10s can I get in a row? And then it's like a game. You start
stacking them.
You start stacking. Like, oh, shit, next thing you know, I did a month. I did a month straight, 10 out of 10. Can I do another month? Can I do 2 months straight? And then, okay, you step up.
It takes a certain person to do that shit.
It's like, it's gamifying.
It does.
It's gamifying.
It sounds nice, but I would say 95, 96, 97, 98% of people aren't doing half of that shit.
Well,
that's the sad part.
But that's the majority of people.
I know.
That's why if you want to be a 2%er, if you want to be somebody that's different than everybody else,
that's what you got to do.
You have to do something different than what everybody else is doing.
And that's
98% of the people are not sticking to a schedule like that.
It's so true.
Right.
But those people are the ones that just if there's a famous book, I don't know if you read. It's a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil, where he interviewed.
Do you read books? Do you read books?
I read.
So
I've been listening to a lot of books.
This book is
great. There's an audio book for it, but this is one of our favorite books, Outwitting the Devil.
Napoleon Hill is very famous for writing the book Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote another one called Outwitting the Devil, where he interviewed the devil, one-on-one interview, and he asked the devil, like, hot seat questions about how he's able to control the masses of people. Like, how are you able to get people to And he goes, it's very simple. He goes, I instill fear into people's minds. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of poverty, fear of whatever, fear of humiliation, fear of all these things that prevent them from going after the things that they're meant to do. And once I get in your brain and fulfill that, and then he goes, most people just drift through life. He calls them drifters.
Yeah.
Because they're not, but that's the 90% of people.
It's so true.
That's not the 2% that break free from that and overcome that fear and say, fuck you, devil. You're not going to do that. I'm going this way. And those are the people that aren't the drifters, that drift through life, never amounting to what they could be, right? And there was a quote that was said. He goes, the greatest fear is coming to the end of your days, lying on your deathbed, and being confronted by all of the people you could have been, but you weren't because you didn't go after it, because you were afraid of whatever it is.
That's crazy, and that is like I think that's a healthy, logical fear,
right?
You know what I mean?
Like you could have been this, but you never started because you were afraid of that.
Yeah,
that is like a huge fear, right? So it's like switching that and saying, all right, no, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to go after it anyway.
Yeah.
So what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. I'm right back where I was before.
Yeah.
Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill.
But it's a good book. So anyway,
Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting the Devil.
So
outwitting.
Outwitting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So let's get into.
I want to talk about what's on his shirt. ARV.
Oh, I was going to talk about the podcast. We could talk about that too.
Yeah.
ARV.
So when
let's shift it here.
Yeah, we got a good glimpse of the podcast. We got a good glimpse of his background, magazines. Now it's time for ARV. I'm assuming ARV is your baby because it's your company.
It is my company. And I love it.
What is it?
When I first launched it, it was on the heels of working at Equinox, right? So I was working at Equinox. I was meeting all these fucking people. I don't know why I keep.
And for the people who don't know what
cursing
Equinox is, Equinox is a gym.
Yeah, Equinox. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was meeting a lot of people, and I'd ask them. I'd be like, "Hey, like, what is the thing that you're most proud of?" And a lot of times they'd be like,
"That's a good question.
Yeah,
we should throw that into our
It's a great question
rotation, man.
Yeah. Might get that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you that at the end of the episode.
Fair enough.
He's probably gonna say overcoming alcohol, but
I'll be like this podcast. No. But the things they would always say is, I work on this nonprofit. I'm on the board of this nonprofit. I do this, giving back, blah, blah. Right. So, as I got to know them a little more, they would talk to me about how, like we'd have these meetings Q1 and Q2, nothing gets done from Q1. And I was like, all right, like, let me help you with that. So I launched it as a nonprofit agent, like a consultancy, where I would go in and I'd be like, all right, like what initiatives did you put forward that need addressing and none of you guys can address? And like oftentimes it was like back of the house kind of like clerical work with it, whether it was helping with their newsletter, whether it's helping with their social media, whether it's helping with asking for large gifts via a email and like an email blast and whatnot. So like I'd help them with that, and then I was able to connect with a variety of different people in the nonprofit space, and it was great. Then I connected with my friend Ashley, who was interested in launching her own foundation. And when I connected with her, I was like, all right, like, what are you like waiting for? Like, you have the time, you have the resources, you have a pretty solid platform as well. And, so like, I just kind of helped her and provided her with like, guidance. Like I was talking to her a lot about like, what should we do here? What should you do there? So she ended up launching her nonprofit in January of 2024. And then I helped her with putting together their inaugural gala, which was in September of last year. And, thankfully it's a Carlos Rodon Foundation, and I'm really like blessed to be a part of it. So her and Carlos like just raise money for people who are trying to have kids for IVF and IUI because they have their own story. And I really fell in love with the event management part of it. So I was like, you know what, like, frankly, like, let's keep it real. Like, I'm not in a position right now where I can donate a lot of my time, which is a lot of times, like, if you're working with a nonprofit, they're going to ask you to. Once I get situated more with the events that I do for the corporations and private events, then, I'll happily help a nonprofit and donate time and resources if necessary to, help them, bring more alignment to their cause. So, but the event management part was like just like awesome, like bringing people together, building out sponsorships, aligning brands, hopeful that, you know, providing a space where hopefully you're walking into a room full of qualified leads as a business owner. You know, I think that's really important because I go to a lot of networking events and I meet a lot of people, and sometimes I walk away with, you know, maybe 2 good conversations, and other times it's like, nice to meet you, but I don't think that, like, there's no real synergy, whether it's financial wise or whether it's industry wise, whatever it is, you know? So I think it's important that, like, you know, if people are going to spend the time to go to an event, they walk away with meaningful relationships that are long term and are going to generate revenue for both parties. So that's what I try to do with the events.
So it's an event. So it's event management.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to. Is it just for nonprofits or it's for?
Now I'm really geared towards corporate and small businesses.
So it can be any kind of event.
So, like, I got a question for you. So let's say Eric and I wanted to do an event for the burn down.
Yeah.
And we're not event planners. We don't really know how. The only thing I've planned was my wedding. He's probably done the same. Let's say we wanted to do a golf outing for a burn down.
Oh yeah.
We could call you and, hey, we need some help locating a venue, putting together this whole process.
Yeah, I'd be able to do that.
You'd be able to do that.
Yeah, I'd do that, and then we'd find brands that align well with what you do, have them sponsor it, generate revenue that way. You know, one of the
that's something that we've talked about. I mean, probably briefly off camera.
Yeah, people always ask us to host our own event. We just don't know diddly shit about getting an event
like
started.
I know, I probably feel confident that I could put together a golf outing because I've been to so many of them and I kind of know how they operate. But the finding the different sponsors and like getting a venue, call up a venue, say, hey, I want to do an event, an outing. They say, all right, well, you need X amount of golfers, how many hours? Okay, you could do that way. But the rest of it, all like the back end stuff that you had mentioned.
Yeah, the back end stuff is huge because, you know, like one of the things. So I recently just did a event with Lamborghini of Greenwich, right? So what I did was,
Did
you know,
they give you a Lambo?
I wish they did.
I don't need payment. I just need a Lambo.
Dude, I wish they gave me a Lambo. But the
just give me a Lambo for a day.
Yeah, for an hour. Give it to me for a fucking hour. So I
you take it to the track,
dude. I would just like
ripping it around the track
on the Merit, like just
ripping it. Fuck the Merit, bro. You'd crash that car in a second. I hate.
No, you know what I would take?
I hate the Merit too.
The Merit is
I would
fucking worst.
I would take it upstate on like 84.
Just open it up,
fucking straight up, man.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
Did you say 684?
No, whatever. What's going north? 81,
95,
95, 81. Just take that straight up,
dude. But either way,
for an hour,
like,
and turn around, come back.
You know why I hate the Merit? I grew up in like Upper Fairfield County, bro, and like the Sawmill was the bane of my existence. Like if I had to get
pretty
into the
much,
city,
you can name
I
any
fucking
road.
hated the Sawmill, and when I go in the Merit, it feels like the Sawmill. It's a little straighter, but like it's the 2 lanes, no shoulder.
I used to live in Hampton,
weird
Connecticut.
on ramps. I hate
Pick
it.
any road in the 5 boroughs, and it's brutal. Anyway,
Dude, it's the worst.
pick anyone.
Because driving, because I lived in Connecticut. I have family in Connecticut.
Where?
My wife's grandmother lives in Newtown.
Okay, nice.
As well as her other grandparents. I used to live in Hamden, Connecticut. She has cousins in East Hamden, Connecticut.
We're actually in one of the lounges, North Haven.
Oh yeah, that's
north of Havana.
Yeah, North
Haven.
North Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so because I used to live in Long Island before I moved to Westchester, so I was always driving.
Oh, you live in Westchester now?
Yeah, I live in Eastchester.
Oh, you from Westchester?
Yeah, I'm not from Westchester. I live in Westchester.
Oh, you live in Westchester?
I'm from Long Island, but I frequently would be on the. Well, it was always a question between do I take the Merit or do I take the 684. 684 is a little bit longer, but it's a fucking wide open highway.
It's 3 lanes.
Yeah,
boom.
I fucking hate the Merit.
Yeah.
I might hate it more than the actual the Bronx River.
Like the Beaky.
I hate the Sawmill River Parkway.
Or as you just experienced the 495 during rush hour.
Yeah, this shit is crazy.
Dude, I don't care how many lanes you have.
495, it's straight and it's 3 or 4 lanes. The Merit, it's 2 lanes and it's like this.
They also changed the name. It's not the LIE anymore, huh?
No, it is.
Is it?
495 is the actual
Like
state number.
What's the Cross Island?
Cross Island
is
the Cross Island Expressway. That's taking you to get onto Long Island.
That takes you cross Long Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
North-south?
Yeah, north-south.
Yeah.
So the LIE...
What is it, like 10 miles? Like,
Yeah.
in Long Island? Like, what?
No, the Cross Island's like 5-6 miles, but it feels like a long-ass time because it's always traffic.
Yeah. So they have a bunch of... They have like the Cross Island the Wanto Parkway, the Seaford Oyster Bay, the Meadowbrook, Route 110, like all of these go
there's
north
so many
and
roads
south.
in this narrow ass strip.
And then you have three main ones that go east and west.
Yeah.
You have the LIE, which is the 495, that goes straight east and west. Then you have the Northern State, which is above that, and the Southern State, which is the South Shore.
Yo, I almost contemplated taking the ferry.
Could have. Would have brought you off at like Port
It
Jeff.
said it would be like an hour and a half too.
Yeah, but then you can just sit on the ferry and chill. You don't have to sit in traffic.
Yeah.
You can take it going back.
That was something I was
You
contemplating
can take
too.
it go back. Go up to Port Jeff. Take the ferry across.
Do
I
I
was
take
thinking about
do I
it.
take the Port Jet? Do I take the
Where's it take you,
ferry
Bridgeport?
to Long Island?
Yeah, it takes you to Bridgeport, and I live like one town over in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
So you can take the ferry.
Yeah, but you gotta drive
Port-
to Port. You gotta drive to
Port Jeff's like a half hour from here.
Yeah, it's really
And then you have a ferry and just chill
it's
on the
almost the
ferry.
same amount.
We'll give you an
of
extra,
time.
that's
give you an
what
extra
it said,
cigar.
yeah.
You go sit on the back of the ferry and smoke the cigar.
Dude, I mean, do you leave your car and you can like walk around?
Yeah.
Port
Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, you
it's
pull
like
your
a
car
water
right
town.
onto the boat. You park your car and then you walk upstairs. They got like a bar / restaurant. You get a sandwich.
You never took the ferry before?
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can bring your car in there for sure.
100%.
What's the process like? Like, how long does it take?
It's like an hour.
Huh.
Yeah.
Not even.
I've always wanted to check out Port Jeff. Someone told me it's cool.
Oh, it's
Is
very
it?
in summer. It's definitely it's a summer town, so it's great in the summer.
Okay.
You got all nice restaurants, all outdoor eateries. You got ice cream places. I don't know, Italian ice places. It's kind of like a.
So it says it's an hour and 15. Oops.
He loves like
He's a numbers
So
guy.
from Port Jeff to Bridgeport is
He's an
hour,
engineer by
he
trade.
loves
So.
looking everything up.
hour and 15.
Yeah.
But so like circling back to what we were talking about though, like with the Lambo event, I was able to I built out sponsorships, right? And I went to brands of the line well, like a luxury real estate, a private travel company, Gabriel Travel Company, great company. And I was like, sponsor event, invite 20 of your VIPs, and Lambo will do the same, and let's build this room out. And that's kind of how I do it. That's the hardest part though. So I'll do that for a golf event. You guys are doing golf event. Let's do it.
Well, we had talked about like if there's any event that we would probably do something like that, because golf and cigars is such a big. They go together like lamb and tuna fish.
Goes well like cookies and milk.
You know, Big Daddy.
Cookies.
Go to get like
Do I
spaghetti and
know
meatballs.
Big-
Lamb and tuna fish.
Have you ever seen Big Daddy?
Oh,
This
Adam
is
Oh
Sandler.
yeah, the one where he pisses on the floor. And
Yeah,
he
it
comes up
seems
with
Big
newspapers?
Daddy,
Yeah,
the
yes,
delivery
yes.
guy.
Dude, that's a great movie. That's
Delivery
one of my
guy.
favorite-
So he's like, you guys go together like lamb and tuna fish, and he's like, what? He goes, maybe you prefer spaghetti and meatballs. That's
Yeah.
better now.
That's one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies.
It's a great movie.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
But
famous
so
scene in the
cigars
court.
and golf go together. Like every golf outing that you've ever been to, they give you a cigar.
Cigars. Yeah.
So we were like, hey, why don't we do a golf outing where our cigars are the ones we give to people, and then we'll get a whole bunch of other sponsors and stuff like that.
You could also do like a live podcast show.
We could.
We've done those a few times.
We could do one
Oh,
where
yeah?
we set up
Yeah.
shop on one of the holes, and everybody that comes in, if you want to be on the show, be on the show. We'll interview for 5 seconds, and then like I always thought about. I've been to a golf outing where one of the guys that did it, he sat on like the 10th hole, it was a par 3, and he's like, "Hey, here's the deal." He goes, for whatever it is, $10. He goes, you can enter, and closest to the pin. If you beat me,
Yeah.
then you win a free something.
Yeah.
So I can say, hey, I'll sit on a par 3. Eric can do like the podcast. I'll sit on a par 3 and say, hey, if you beat me closest to the pin, got to be on the green. But if you're closest to the pin, then you win like a free 5-pack or something.
Yeah.
So be like for $5, I'll fucking join in that.
Oh yeah.
And then
Have
you
you
sit there, and it's
Have you ever taken over lounges?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
done cigar
Yeah,
yeah.
events.
There's
I mean-
plenty of that.
Yeah, we've done cigar events.
But that's not really like sponsors. That's just the lounge has us, and we have a deal on our cigars.
Yeah, they buy our
Okay.
they buy X amount of boxes, and then we just have an event.
And we
they
do
sell them.
giveaways at the end where we'll say, okay, if you buy 3 cigars, you get 1 free plus a raffle ticket. If you buy 10 cigars, you'll get 3 free and 3 raffle tickets. And at the end of the event, we have like 6 different raffles, and they start from a cutter and a couple cigars, and they go all the way up to the full boxes of stogies.
How much do you sell your boxes for?
$200 a box.
Nice.
Yeah, so $10 a stick. So and people come in, we hang out, we have food and all that stuff, and people are drinking, having a good time, and so we've done that. But that's not really it doesn't require to get other sponsors.
Yeah.
because we're the event.
Yeah.
We're the guy. But at a golf outing, you need sponsors for the holes, you need sponsors for the raffles, you need.
Oh, you definitely need revenue.
right.
Yeah.
So we can talk.
How many
about
cigars have you guys smoked in your life?
That's a great question.
it. Well, I'll tell you right off the bat.
That's a fucking great question.
There's a boot up there filled with stogies.
Yeah,
There's another one filled there, and there's another one over here filled.
and there's a bunch of
And that's all cigars that are not ours.
and here's a box full of our labels that we smoked.
That was before we got our
Oh,
own cigar.
shit.
So figure we've had at least a cigar on every episode, which is 300 and something. But I would say on average,
How many do you smoke a week?
That's what I'm saying. On average, it's maybe like 4 a week, 4 to 5 a week.
That's Justin. Justin smokes more than I do, but he has more free space.
But it's not. But it depends because like on a weekend, if we're hanging in the pool, I'll smoke 2.
Yeah.
On a Friday night, I'll smoke 1.
Yeah.
Episode on a Wednesday, we might smoke 2. So
Yeah.
that's 5 right there. But I won't smoke Monday. I won't smoke Tuesday. I won't smoke Thursday.
Smoke more in the summer.
You know, I won't
winter.
smoke Sunday. So
In the winter, like.
Yeah, I mean, definitely well over 1,000 cigars. I'd say I smoked.
Damn.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, how long have you been smoking? 10 years?
Counting Black and Mild since high school.
Oh shit, you're a Black and Mild dude.
Oh, I smoke Black
You
and
are
Mild.
from Long Island.
Oh, is that a Long Island thing?
Yeah, Long Island people love Black and Milds. White people, black people, they all love Long Island.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah. I went to UMass Amherst and like it was a bunch of Long Island people and like Jersey people, bro. And like the Long Island people always like, oh, where the Black and Milds at? I'm like, dude, you're like a white Jew from fucking Roslyn. What are you smoking Black and Milds for? You know what I mean? Like it was the weirdest shit ever.
I've never heard of that. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Black and Mild. I used to smoke them. I used to smoke backwoods too.
Yeah, Black and Milds are a lot in high school just because I just like the
Well,
cool,
think
the
about
cool.
it, dude. If you don't count those just from premium cigars, if you're smoking 3 a week,
I really started smoking cigars in 2017.
so 3 a week is 150 a year for the last
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's definitely
6
over 1,000
years.
cigars.
Yeah.
It was what 900?
Because then you had the weddings, you had all that stuff. Yeah.
100%. I mean, not including the nights where we smoked 2-3 cigars, and that's
Oh well, not
when
including.
we would go away, we'd do these like cigar events. It was called Cigar Fest. Before COVID happened, they were once a weekend, and it was basically like every cigar company in one location, and you paid a ticket.
It was like a trade show kind of.
Trade show,
so cool.
and it was like an adult Halloween. You got 100 booths there. You got a ticket book of every cigar company, and you take it off. If you know AVR cigars, you take it off the AVR cigar one. You give them the ticket, and they give you a cigar in return. And it was like an adult Halloween. And that weekend alone, we would smoke like.
I should incorporate you into my events, though. Like having your cigars there,
Yeah,
would be awesome because
We
man.
do it all the time.
Oh yeah,
Because we do private events, we do corporate events,
And we can even do custom labels. So we'll put your logo on the cigar,
sick.
and like say, hey, I have a cigar vendor. I work with them, and you can even do it like with yours, or you can say the people that let's say they're doing an event. Lamborghini is doing an event, and you say, hey, I have a cigar vendor. They can put your logo on the cigars for your event, and we charge $250 a box with the logos. It's $200 without. It's an extra $50 to put your custom logo on there. So like, hey, how many people you have at the event? Got 100 people. Okay, you want 5 boxes or 4 boxes because maybe not everybody smokes. That's $1,000. You get 4 boxes. We have your custom labels. We'll set up a booth, and we can put Lamborghini's logo on there.
I mean, that's what we did at the Impact Golf outing. I told you, Shepherd's Wealth Group. They sponsored 100 custom labels. 200, I'm sorry. So that was 5 boxes of each, and they paid us just to essentially just hand out free cigars with their logo on it. And
I mean that's super cool that like you've like turned your podcast into also like you're selling a product and a product that you can like.
When we first started this, I would never told you we would have started a cigar company ever. Like I was telling you, our partner who makes our cigars, his name is Jonas Santana. He owns Blackbird Cigars. I told you he came from the DR at one time. We met him early on in his career as a cigar brand owner. He was in the cigar industry for a long time, but he started his own brand. And then we just linked up over here in Long Island when he was here one weekend, and then just formulated a relationship. And he came to us and said, hey, I want to make you a cigar. And we're like, what?
Yeah, he asked. He goes, you ever think about making your own cigar? We go, yeah, but we really don't know how. And he goes, I'm gonna help you. So he helped us make the first one, and then the rest is history. Made this one. We're gonna make more, but it's kind of like.
Are they sourced in DR?
Yeah, so everything's rolled in the DR. You're made in the DR, handmade. Everything's handmade.
Yeah.
But the tobacco is sourced from different countries. So like that one has 6 different countries in it. So that has Mexican wrapper, Ecuador binder, Dominican, Honduran, Nicaraguan, and American fillers. So we take all the tobacco that's shipped to DR. This one's got 3 different countries: American, Dominican, and Ecuador. So all that is the tobacco is shipped from those different countries. We source them into DR. They're rolled in DR. They're shipped to Florida, and they're warehoused in Florida, and then they're distributed from Florida.
Yeah, because we have them we have them in lounges across the country too. So besides just events, but yeah, it's been a fun. It's fun to do the podcast, but it's even funner to see people smoking your own cigar.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's a cool correlation.
So let me ask you this: so how did you get into cigars? Because you said you smoke occasionally.
What's your nationality?
I'm Indian and Persian.
Indian and Persian.
Yeah, everyone thinks I'm Dominican. which is funny.
You know what?
He's got some wealth in his background.
Originally, I thought you were Dominican.
Not me.
Originally, you struck me as someone who's Dominican, but as you were talking, you reminded me of my friend Waleed, and I was like,
Waleed?
Waleed, yeah.
He Indian?
Yes. Yeah.
Indian
Nice.
and Persian.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's Indian. My mom's Persian Jewish.
Persian.
Is Judaism big
Dude,
in
I was
Persia?
like bar mitzvah and everything, yeah.
Well, is that big in Persia?
Not anymore. Now they'll kill you if you're Jewish. Back when she was there, like, it was back in, like, the 70s, and that was when, like, they had this whole revolution, and her and my grandfather and the family had to flee.
I was gonna say, so that's why they came to America.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're
There's
in
a lot of Persians in Long Island.
well
I feel
over
like.
in India or like the Muslim countries, if you're Christian, that's no. Like I talked about going to like the Maldives, I think, for my honeymoon. And I'm Christian and I have a cross on my arm and I have a cross hanging from my neck and I have a cross on my wrist. And they were saying you gotta be careful because in a Muslim country you can't have crosses.
I don't even know what country the Maldives is.
I think it's a Muslim country. It's in like the Indian Ocean somewhere.
Yeah.
But they were saying like if you go over to the Middle East, if you go to the
Oh yeah, if you go in the Middle East, yeah, be careful.
Like you can't you got to cover it up. They said that's a no.
Not up in here.
I was like, I didn't know that.
Not up in here. No, I didn't know that either. I never know about Persian Jews.
I didn't know about Persian either. So you're
Yeah.
Indian and Persian. So
Yeah.
so how did you get into cigars, man?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not as crazy into cigars. I smoked cigarettes for years, and now like my friends are into cigars, so like I'll smoke them with them. I don't know much about it,
But you
like,
enjoy it.
I enjoy it. Yeah. It's relaxing.
For sure.
You know,
That's the main thing that we like about it.
like that's my thing. It's like super relaxing, and
it's totally different than a cigarette, right?
it's totally different from a cigarette.
Cigarette, you're like, gotta get my fix. This is like,
You know, I don't feel unhealthy when I smoke a cigar.
well,
It's really not.
Don't bring us down that path, okay? Because
Yeah.
we'll talk all about how they're actually good for you, and they want to make it seem like they're not good for you, and they rope them into everything else.
Yeah,
And not
We
just
can go
because
down
we're
it.
cigar lovers. There's actual.
Dude, why do you give me that glass? Because that's the second time.
Leave my glass alone. All right. It's
But,
Yeah,
I
there's
mean-
actually studies that show about the health benefits of cigars.
yeah. One of the first cigars that I really, really enjoyed, I was in Mexico, and it was like the first trip me, my dad, my sister, and my girlfriend took after my mom had passed away, and that was one of the most memorable cigars I've ever had because it was just me and my dad smoking cigars, walking along the beach, and I remember that like. So
Now, does your
vividly.
dad smoke cigars?
My dad would say he does, but he doesn't really.
He's
My
like occasionally.
Yeah, he'll do it. Like if I brought a cigar over to the house, he'll smoke it. You know, but it's not something like we do.
Is your dad from India?
Yeah,
So does your dad speak one of the 500 languages?
he speaks Hindi. Yeah, he speaks Hindi pretty fluently.
So that's like the
That's like the main language.
like the main one, right? And then there's all different. Do you speak any?
No, I see. The thing is, my mom spoke Farsi. My dad spoke Hindi. So
Is
there's a language
Farsi
barrier.
kind of like related to like an Indian
It's Farsi is a Persian.
Persian, but is it like what I mean is like if you have German and Swiss and
No.
they're all kind of similar, whereas like Spanish and Italian and they're the kind of similar words.
No, not at all.
Farsi and Hindi are not similar at all.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
two completely different languages.
Two completely different languages. So like they never spoke to it like in the house. So like I never like was really
Picked up
able
on
to like
They only spoke it when they called back home, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
bro. And so I can understand more Farsi than Hindi because my dad tried to teach me Hindi and like he's not a teacher.
Because your
He's
mom
not
yelled at
that
you when
type.
you were in trouble in Farsi, right?
Well, because most of my Persian family is here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
my dad is the only one from his country who came here. So like like at the family reunions, they don't speak Farsi. So like, I can understand some things, but then I can't speak it fluently. Hebrew I could understand a little more because of the Jewish side, and we went to Jewish. Me and my sister went to Jewish day school from like kindergarten through 5th grade, and we both got bar mitzvah, and like we were practicing Jews, I guess, if you want to call us that, for quite a while until we weren't. I'm a really bad Jew, I guess.
You're like
really
my buddy. My buddy always says
I'm like the worst Jew. I love bacon.
my buddy says you can steal this if you want, but my buddy's Jewish, but he says he's like I'm not Jewish, I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
Dude, yeah, I say that shit
He's
too.
like I'm Jewish. He's like I'm not really practicing, but I'm Jewish. So
People don't believe me that I'm Jewish. They think I'm Puerto Rican, so it doesn't matter.
So, hey, hey, that could be an advantage. You can freaking use that, man.
Like, dude, they do. Like, it's so crazy. Like, the
Puerto
worst,
Rican Day Parade. Yeah, Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
Give me some free shit.
It's funny though because like the people who are most disappointed that I can't speak their language are Hispanic people, bro.
And you're like, I'm not Hispanic, bro.
Dude. Spanish people. Walk
I'm
up
not.
to
You
me
know
all
how
the time and
far?
just start speaking Spanish.
Like, you know how far from Mexico I am? Like,
It's crazy though.
from my heritage.
And I feel like I break their heart when I don't speak Spanish. You know, like I've worked in restaurants forever, so like back at the house, it's like all Spanish people. Right?
Yeah,
And
that's
like,
how I learned a
so,
little
like,
bit.
It's funny how it's like we're here alone, but you have to, for some reason, we whisper. They're all Spanish people. It's like as if we're talking about. That's like when people say like when they try to say like something in a different language, they enhance it more. They're like, "Oh, I want some espresso." It's like, no, I just want some espresso. Why do you have to like make it?
Why is it, yeah.
You're like, I want some, pollo di rosa. It's like, no, I just want some, pollo di rosa. Like, I don't want. Why you gotta fucking
The
like,
mozzarella. I hate when it's so funny because
you're like at a restaurant and they're like, yeah, I'll have the soup at the parma, and it's like, no, I just have
just say soup de parma.
Can I have a soup?
Yeah,
Just have a soup.
come on, just fucking say.
Can I get some of that calamari and
Yeah.
the mozzarella? I go, it's not. Honestly, that's. You're trying to speak Italian, but that's not how they say it. Like it's funny because
It isn't.
So when I went to Italy, I tried to learn a little bit of Italian because I'm like, I'm going to your country. Let me try to learn a little bit of Italian. And being from Long Island, you hear just like the fake, the fugazi Italian people, right? There's only the people that I'm from I'm Italian. Oh yeah, you doing? And they start talking, and they say mozzarella. And I go, honest, they don't say mozzarella. They say mozzarella. That's how they say it in Italy. So over here, they're like, oh, mozzarella, calamari, or gabagool.
Because it's like that Brooklyn.
But that's not even Italian. Like, you go to Italian, you say calamari.
Italian American.
That's not. They say calamari.
You're
Like, they
Italian?
don't.
Yeah.
Or they don't say gabagool over there.
It kind
That's not
of gets exhausting though, seeing all those Italian accounts that are like they overzealous. I'm like, man, it's so fucking like. Just give it a break, man.
But I just found it hilarious because
give it a
those
break.
accounts.
Yo, how you doing? I'm like,
Dude, that's hilarious.
There's so many of them.
Dude, when I went to DR, I got off the flight, and this is the funniest story. So I got off the flight, and I'm standing there at the corner, right? And this woman comes up to me. She's on my flight, and she starts being like, "I need a cab to my hotel." She thought I was a cab driver, and I was like,
I got off the flight with you.
Like I was 2 rows in front of you. You know what I mean? Like,
I got off the flight.
I didn't come here to drive cabs.
What, you think,
yeah,
you think
dude,
I'm coming?
I was like,
think I'm coming home? To
dude, it was so funny, and my who's with me? Whoever was with me was like, "What are you gonna?" And I messed with her. I was like, "Listen, like, let's share an Uber." I told her that. They're like, it was just like so awkward. And then we were leaving the country. The lady in customs was like, "No, not show me your Dominican passport," because I gave her my American passport. I'm like, I don't fucking have a Dominican passport. I'm trying to get out of this goddamn country. Like, you know, like it was crazy. But
that's like when I was in Germany, or when we came back from Italy, we flew into Germany, and then Germany to Italy, and then coming back we flew Italy to Austria, and then home. But coming into Germany, I mean, I am German.
Wait, what were you doing?
So what's that?
Like,
we were going to Italy for my honeymoon.
Oh, okay.
And I am
travels.
I am German, and I speak very, very little. Same thing. My mother speak fluent German, and she would speak it like with relatives and stuff. And I understood a little bit. Like when I was in trouble, she would always yell at me in German, so I understood a little bit. But I don't speak it fluent by any means. I know how to say a few things.
Yeah.
But being that I look German, we got to Germany, and we go to we have a couple of hours. We go get something to eat. And the guy, and my wife looks German too. She's 5'10", blonde hair, blue eyes. She's like the most Aryan looking person ever, right? So the guy starts talking to us like we're coming through customs. He's talking to us full German, and I was just like, "Sorry." He's like, "Oh, I thought you were German." I was like, "I'm American. I know I am German, but I don't know what you're saying." He's like, "Okay, they go this way," but they just assume, and I go, I picked up like 2 words out of that, man. So can you just speak English?
Just talk English.
You know, English speakers are only like in Germany they call it Deutschland.
Yeah, it's Deutschland. Yeah. You want to hear something crazy? Is like
what's that? Deutschland is what?
Deutschland's German.
Germany.
For Germany. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I was watching this comedian and he was like, they were talking about the whole like Gulf of America thing, right? And they're like, he was like, that's laughable. He was like laughing because he's British, and he was saying like, we have the number on everyone. He's like, we name everybody's shit differently.
Yeah.
Like, and he was talking about like, you know what they call Germany in Germany? Deutschland. He was like, in Japan they call it Nippon. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't fucking know that.
No clue.
Well, here's another thing is that so aside from like England, America is the only country where we only speak one language. So every other country, for the most part, speaks their language and English. So like you go to Germany, they speak German and English. You go to Spain, they speak Spanish and English. Italy, Italian and English. You come to America, it's only English. We are not brought up to know any other language. But everywhere else, they're brought up to know their native language
England?
And English. But as I said, aside from England,
yeah,
they speak English.
I wonder why is that?
But like, think about it. Like you go any other country in the world, and you speak, guaranteed that they'll understand.
It's like
English.
the default global language,
right?
Yeah.
So, but I went there and I was kind of jealous because I'm like, I was talking to we met a guy. He was our waiter. We were at one of our spots. We were in Lake Como, Italy, and the waiter. Now, Lake Como it's like Italy. It's a smaller country, but there's all these other countries surrounding it, and people all come to Lake Como.
Yeah.
So you have people from Spain, from Italy, from France, from Switzerland, from Russia, from Germany. All these different. They come to Lake Como. So this guy is the waiter, and he comes to us, and he speaks English. And then I overhear the table next to us speaking German. And there's the same waiter. And he's speaking German to them. And I'm like...
He must know so many languages.
So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I was kind of listening. So then there's a couple over there. It's Italian. They're from Italy. He speaks Italian to them. And there's a couple over there who's from China. He's speaking Mandarin to them. And then there's another over here speaking French. And he speaks French to them. Oh, same guy. So he goes table to table. English, German... Spanish, Italian, Mandarin, French, like all these different languages. He came back to us. I said, let me ask you something, dude. I noticed I'm like, how many languages do you speak? Because I speak 7 languages fluently. I'm like, well, he goes, I speak Italian, speak English, German, French, Spanish, Mandarin, and Russian. I go, shut the fuck up. He goes, yeah. He goes, well, here, he goes, being that I have all these people, he goes, I learned all these languages. He goes, but growing up, he goes, I speak Italian. I learned English, obviously. He goes, then I learned other languages in school. So right off the bat, he's got 3 languages.
Where's he? He was from Italy?
He's from Italy.
That'd be so funny if he was from like Brooklyn.
But I'm like, I'm sitting
really
there,
funny.
and then I go to my wife. I go, I'm so jealous of these people because any other country you grow up in, you have your
You
native,
learn other languages,
and then you learn English just like guaranteed. So you're fluent in 2 languages right off like you're 10 years old, you're fluent in 2 languages. And I'm like, here I am struggling.
It's like one of those AI waiters.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's a robot.
I couldn't
don't
believe it.
I don't
Google
believe the
Translate.
story.
And
Google Translate.
Mandarin threw me for a freaking loop because like I can
Yeah,
understand
forget that
like
one.
like Spanish and Italian are kind of
Yo,
similar.
when white people speak Mandarin, it's crazy.
Dude,
There's
he
fu- there's
started
some
It
hilarious-
blows my mind.
There's hilarious YouTube
Wild.
videos of like white guys like in like China or whatever, and like in the restaurant, and he's like, and they're like,
Well, have you seen the guy? Have you seen the guy?
Like,
Yeah.
like, say it again. He's like,
I just think it's fascinating.
There's a
Yeah.
guy on Instagram, on probably all social media platforms. I forgot his handle, but he speaks like 100 different languages. He's like a savant when it comes to languages, and he does the man on the street type of interviews.
Yeah.
Where he goes to these big touristy places, and he goes, what's your native language? He's like, where are you from? And the guy's like, I'm
I've
from
seen
like
him.
Hungary. And he's like, Hungary. And then he just starts speaking to him in Hungarian. And the guy's like, the fuck? And he has a full conversation.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, he'll be like, where are you from? Japan. Oh, blah, blah, blah. He speaks in Japan. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Russia. He starts speaking Russian.
I've seen this guy.
And he gets crazier too. People are like, you're not going to get it. And he'll be like, where are you from? He goes, Persia. And he starts speaking Farsi to them. And I'm like, and they're mind blown because he's just the same guy. He's speaking like, they go, how many do you know? He goes, I know about 100 different languages.
Fuck
Go,
that.
how do you have enough room in your brain?
Well,
bro?
some people are just good with languages.
I struggle with
wasn't.
English sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, dude, I'm just not good at different languages. I wish I learned. My parents both like. My dad tried to teach me Hindi. My mom tried to teach me Farsi, and I think every time my dad tried to teach me, like it just ended in a fight. It was very frustrating for him. And with my mom, like I think I just gave up.
See what I found.
Nah.
I can.
Can't do it.
Do you speak Italian?
No, not at all.
Does it your family?
No. No. My wife used to speak
Your wife
it.
does.
She used to speak it a lot. She hasn't done it anymore.
Because you don't
But,
understand it.
Well, she just like her great grandparents
Look at that.
all were off the boat, so they were always like speaking like broken English to her. Then she took Italian forever, so she understands it, but yeah, she doesn't speak it as much. I kind of wish she did, but
I would say that
I
like
took Spanish for 5
It's
years.
a sexy language. Italian's a
is
sexy
very- it's
language.
very
Bro,
sexy.
so
Right?
saying that, it's funny that you say it. So before we came out with the blueprint, we were trying to think of a name for.
Oh gosh, I remember
this
that.
cigar, right? So we were trying to think of like cool names to say, and
Do you remember what it was?
What was it? It was dapper in Italian, which
Asamato.
was Asamato.
Asamato, yeah.
Asamato. I was like, damn, that's a fucking sick name for.
You know who came up with that? My buddy from the restaurant
Yeah.
in Manhattan. He was like, he's like, Asamato is dapper in Italian.
And I was like, yo,
We were like, yo, that's
a
sick.
That's a sick name. I'm like, it sounds sick. I'm smoking the Asamato. What are you smoking tonight? The Asamato. Then I saw how it was spelt, and it's Azzamato, whatever. And I was like, Justin, just fucking scrap it. We're not doing it. He's like, why? What the fuck? I was like, because it's AZZ, bro. It looks like ass. No matter how.
And as soon as you said that, all I could see was Asamato.
Asamato.
Can't do it.
No, I'm like, no matter how, no matter what
it.
font, no matter what it looks like ass. Can't do it.
Really? What if you do it all in caps?
Can't do it. He's
Even
like,
worse.
He's like, I just see ass.
Even worse.
He's like, I just see ass.
You know
every
why?
time
Because I
see
knew an as electric, AZZ electric, and I said that's ass electric.
Yeah.
It's ass electric
Yeah.
too.
It's all he could think of. It's all, yeah. And
I
then
was
as soon as you said it, it's all I could think of. I was like,
I'm like, fucking scrap it. We're
I'm
not
like,
doing
fuck. Now I can't unsee that.
it. No, it
I
was
don't know.
for a purpose. But no, I took Spanish for 5 years. I can barely remember it. If I'm around Spanish people and they start talking, like some stuff picks up. But
I speak restaurant Spanglish.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Mas Blue Cheese now, please.
Yeah. Mas
I got-
cheese ahora.
Yeah.
Por
We had an
favor.
Uber driver.
Yeah, dude. Like,
I was in Delray Beach once, and we forgot our cooler at the beach, and we had an Uber driver or a taxi driver, and he didn't speak English. And my buddy and I, we spoke to him like broken Spanish.
yeah.
Barely got to it, but we got through to him through me and him collaborating on our shitty ass Spanish. But that's about as much as I can do. It's very, very limited.
Yo, my boy, he started dating this like Brazilian girl, and the only way he'd communicate with her was through Google Translate.
That's
Yeah.
fucking wild.
He loves her,
Which
He's
is
still with her.
wild, though.
That's-
Which
I'm
is
like-
wild how you can do that.
And he was like, dude, like it's crazy because I think I love her because she doesn't understand me. I think
you
I
are
love her.
fucking so annoying.
He was just his second, like he got divorced, and he was like, I think I love her because of the language barrier.
Has nothing to the fact that she's Dominican.
Brazilian.
Brazilian.
Well,
Sorry.
I mean,
Brazilian.
she's not bad looking.
I was going to say.
I'm sure she's not.
Yeah, she's a looker. But
I'm sure she's.
But no, the
I'm
Google
sure-
Translate thing is wild
Yeah.
because same thing. We were in Italy. We had a cab driver. We had we got car service, and the car service guy was like, "Hey, listen, I'm not gonna be able to pick you up tomorrow because I have to take care of my kids, but my father is gonna drive you. But my father doesn't speak English. He knows 3 words in English. He knows like taxi, hello,
and fair.
and like cash,
Yeah.
cash and wine. Like he knows a couple words. She's like, so you're gonna have to try to use your Italian. And I'm good when it comes to languages. I pick up pretty quickly on how to say things,
Yeah,
but having a conversation, like listening to what somebody else says and trying to understand them, and then that's where I have difficulty. So I can tell you what I want. In like if I want a bottle of wine, I can say like if I said, can we have a bottle of wine? Because possiamo avere un bottiglia di vino rosso per favore. That's can we have a bottle of wine in Italian? But as soon as they respond back, like if they respond with a long sentence,
Yeah.
I'm lost.
Lost.
And I go, sorry,
Lost.
I just know how to say stuff. I can't. So I can say.
I can tell you what to do, but
Yeah.
you can't tell
But-
me what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh shit. Okay. So this guy speaks. And he was great. He was like a traditional, old school Italian grandpa. Like he's 80 years old and he doesn't speak a lick of English. So we had to use Google Translate. So I'm like trying to figure out like how to say certain things, and I'm just like Google Translate, blah, 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 spit it out, and I go to him, and it's like, and he's like, oh, okay, un momento, record, and then he would record it, and I could understand it, and then as we do him back a little bit, I would pick up on certain things, whatever, but
Tell me you had a full conversation with this guy through Google Translate.
Yo,
Not-
sometimes you got it.
well, like,
Well, if you're a taxi driver, just fucking go here. I don't want to talk to you.
well,
Yeah. Left,
he wanted to talk, so he was asking like, what do you guys do for work?
Oh.
And he said the work word, and I picked up on the work word, and I forgot what the work word is, but so I had to I didn't know how to say like.
I'm sure you had a lot to say.
So I don't know how to say like I'm in sales and my wife, she's a housewife. So I was like, how do I say that? So, but to your point of it being sexy, so we're in Italy, and we're sitting at the pool, and I've been like trying, and I went to the guy and I said, listen, I'm learning Italian, which is sto imparando Italiano. I'm learning Italian, so just like bear with me, okay? He's like, no problem. So he comes over, and he says, Justin, or Mr. Isaac, he says, cosa bere, which means do you want something to drink? So he says cosa bere, and I said, un cappuccino per me. Honey, what do you want? She's like, I'll have a cappuccino. Due cappuccino, per favore. And he's like, perfecto. Cosa mangia? I said, honey, do you want something to eat? And I was like, no, grazie. He's like, perfecto. I said, grazie mille. And I said, and it like, everything was Italian. And he spoke to me in Italian. I spoke back. He answered. I spoke back in Italian. He walked away. And I was like, honey.
I'm so proud.
I was like, did you see that? She's like, yeah, I get it. I'm like, I did it. He didn't know. Like, it was a full-blown conversation. She's like, I know, honey, relax. Like,
big fucking whoop. Give me my cappuccino.
But later on,
yeah,
but later on, I was like, it's kind of hot. She was like,
and I was hungry.
I was like, honey,
I did actually want something.
I was like, honey, that was kind of hot. She's like, it was cool. It was pretty cool. I was like, yeah, I know.
That's
it was
so
cool.
funny.
She's like, it was pretty sexy. It was pretty cool. I was like, I can't. That's it. I was like, I'm done. I'm happy. I'm not speaking English for the rest of the time.
Hey,
but
the default. Back to
it
the
was.
default.
But here's my catch. He only said 2 words. He said cosa bere and cosa mangia. If he would have said a whole bunch of sentences, I'd be like, sorry, English. Sorry.
Slow the fuck down.
English now. Let's go back to English. Okay. How about I answer you in Italian, you speak to me in English? How about that?
That's so funny. I feel like every time like I'm in an Uber that like I don't know why I'm bringing this up because you're
They ask
talking about a
you
cab.
if you speak Dominican.
Well, every time I'm in an Uber and I feel like maybe like chatting, the Uber driver doesn't want to at all. And every time I get into Uber and I don't want to chat,
Yeah.
They
it's the
wanna
chattiest
talk.
motherfucker ever.
And you're like, oh,
Right?
okay.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
how do you say
Yeah.
shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Like one time I got picked up from my house at like 4 a.m. for flight. Like, I don't want to talk to you.
It's 4 a.m.
The guy's like, oh, good morning. What you doing? Where you going? Who you seeing?
Because you know that
What,
he's
am I writing an autobiography?
And I
because
was
he's
like, bro,
been
like-
driving since midnight. He's been awake the whole
I
time.
don't give a I don't care.
Just drive me.
Just drive, dude.
You want to know how my
Please
morning's going?
drive.
My morning would be really good if you just got me to where I need to go.
But it's like one of those things where it's like you're putting off all the subtle clues that like, hey, bro, like,
Shut the fuck up.
and he's just like, keep talking. Like,
know
oh,
how
hey,
you-
what's the
like,
temperature?
when he-
It's fine.
Yeah, it's all
like-
like, it's
it's
fine.
like-
How's your morning?
Yeah.
Good. Where are you going?
Or
They're
they tell you their life story, and you're like, oh, dude.
Then
No,
you
you
have to
do.
pretend that you're interested and you have to ask
Yeah,
them
yeah,
questions.
You know what's even worse too
Yeah.
is like when you get in that Uber and you have your headphones in
Yeah.
and you're like doing something and you hear them ask you questions and you're like trying to play it off like I can't hear you and they keep going. You're like, I have to take my headphones. Why?
Do you think
Like,
that's worse than when they're on the phone the entire time?
Oh,
dude? I
God.
notice a lot of them are on the
They're
phone.
always on the fucking talking to their wife. I'm like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Aren't you working?
Have
Like,
you
talk
ever-
to me when you get home.
Have you ever peeked at their phone to see how long they've been on it?
Yeah, it's like
it
fucking
doesn't-
1 hour, 41 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've seen
dude.
ones. It's like 4 hours.
They got like 3 screens up, and you're like, dude, like,
He's
like,
giving
do
the
they-
wife the play-by-play.
you
Yeah.
hop in your Uber and you just call them and talk to them all day long.
yeah. One time an Uber picked me up, and he was just smoking a cigarette. His car reeked of weed. I think he was trying to get rid of it, and I was just like, just take me to the airport. Like, I'm not
Like,
gonna
listen,
even say
listen,
anything.
if-
I'll
if-
give you 5
If
stars.
you'll shut up, I'll let you smoke the weed in the car. Okay,
Yeah,
like
dude.
please.
Yeah. Oh my god. I don't know why I thought about it. You talk about the cab driver, and I was just like, like
Dude,
the
it's
language
so
barrier in an Uber is sometimes useful.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not when they're speaking another language on the phone the entire time.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause
it's
then I'm
trick.
like,
You
like,
can just
I'm the customer.
pretend like
the fuck
you're deaf. Just be like,
I should do that once.
just pretend. And they'll be like, oh, you're. I don't. I and they're okay, all right, and then they'll shut up.
Have you
Tell
done
me.
it before?
No, because
That's also a good thing to do when you
'Cause
go
what?
to jury duty.
was that. Well, I speak a little bit of sign language, so I feel.
Oh,
and I went to school
I
that
was
was
thinking of
half
something
deaf, so I
else.
kind of feel
How do you
bad doing
fucking
that.
you speak multiple languages and sign language, huh?
Well, I went to school. I went to Rochester Institute of Technology, which is upstate New York, and part of their
RIT.
school, part of their school was the NTID, which is the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. So half of my school was deaf. We had kids on our basketball team that were deaf. I had kids in my class that were deaf. I had friends that were deaf. So I learned how to speak sign language, but I don't speak it fluently. But
They're probably like, man, this guy talks a lot.
but I know, yeah.
100%.
I'm just kidding.
But it's actually kind of when you think about it.
That's the mantra. It's
He's like-
okay.
Yeah,
They're
no.
like-
They're like, shut up. How do you say shut the fuck up? Shut the fuck up. But no, it's actually people know more sign language than they think they know because it's kind of like playing charades. Like if I were to ask you, like, how would you ask me if you wanted something to drink in sign language? Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll get you.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, like you want a drink?
Yeah, I got you.
And then there's certain things like this is like beer, water, like all these different things. But if you want to say like, do you want to play some basketball? Like if I ask you what sport would you play, you're like, oh, I played basketball. How would you sign basketball? You'd go like basketball.
I think I know how to say my name in sign
Yeah.
language.
Now the actual sign for basketball is this.
I-C.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Yeah,
if the
fuck
actual
yeah.
sign is this for basketball, but if you said, they would know what you meant.
What's the sign for this?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like charades.
Not at the table, Carlos.
You could play charades. Think of it as like charades, and you would probably be able to say something.
Huh.
But now to say a whole bunch of other things like full sentences, it's a little bit more involved. But
do you do that sometimes? You're like, baby, how awesome was that?
yeah, no, I don't know that much. I know how.
My wife did sign language too. She still does it. Still
really?
To this day. Yeah.
I know very basic stuff like how to finger spell and how to like say what's up and how are you and you're welcome and thank you and all these things. But
I don't think I was ever really like around deaf people.
Yeah, neither was I until I went to school, and I was like, well, shit. Now I kind of have to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
Deaf people.
But it's what's really cool about it is if you're like at a bar, at a restaurant, at a party, and you want to talk to somebody, if I want to talk to you, I have to be like right here. Especially it's really, really loud. I gotta be right here, and I gotta be screaming.
That's true.
It can be as loud as you want, and we can have a conversation totally fine. If you're all the way on the other side of the place, and I want to talk to you, I can talk to you no problem. I don't have to scream. I don't have to call. I don't have to text you. I can just sign, and you can understand everything I'm saying. You can sign back.
That is pretty cool.
And we can have a conversation. Can't do that if you have to scream. Eric, what do you want to drink? I'd be like, or you say like, yeah, got you. Here's a beer. Me too. I'm like, hey,
I'll keep on smoking your mice.
So,
bro.
By the way, so we've been an hour and a half, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
95 minutes we've been going.
Dang.
That's crazy.
Doesn't feel like it.
No, this is great.
It doesn't feel like it, man. Wow, I told you. It when you get in the zone, it flies.
Certainly does.
So we talked about your background. We talked about the podcasting. We talked about your company. We talked about the magazines. We talked about cigars. Okay, we're kind of getting to the end of the episode where we want to say, ask you what do you have planned for the future with any one of those things, with the magazine, with your company, like what's any events coming up? What do you see yourself? How do you see the company moving in the future?
Yeah.
What's coming up?
Well, I really want to build out that Upper Westchester Lifestyle Magazine. I think that there's a lot of businesses, and you guys saw at the golf event, that deserve to have their stories told, and I think that that's really the backbone of like growing any small business, is not only just like being there, and like people connect with the people behind the businesses, I think more and more now. So I think that's really important. So that's something that I'm really committed to. And then with the
what magazine is that?
Upper Westchester Lifestyle Magazine. Don't get me wrong, like the Darien, New Canaan, Greenwich Lifestyle, like are great publications, and they're growing. And Laura does a really good job. Laura Sabia, she's the editor in chief of all three. But I really want to like commit myself to building out the Upper Westchester, because I'm meeting so many awesome business people in, honestly, the greater New York metro area who are interested in having visibility in those communities, which is like Armonk, Bedford, Pound Ridge, like all the way up there. Yeah.
Big boys.
And then with the podcast, man, I just want to keep doing and stay consistent. I think you guys are a model for that, where it's like stay consistent and you pound away at it, and you've built a brand and you built a product around it.
Do you have any cool guests scheduled? Or guests that you want to be on?
I have a bunch of people coming on. I have this guy, Alan Collins. He owns a wellness brand. He's based out of Westchester. My roster.
Are they mostly Westchester folk?
No, it's funny because, as you guys know, like as you grow, like people are reaching out from you from like all over the place. Like I had a call with this woman in Missouri who was like listening to my podcast and was really
Isn't
like
that wild? How cool is that?
It's crazy.
It's such a cool feeling.
And she was like really, really touched by like an episode, and I sat on a call with her 40 minutes today, and she like told me about a story, and I was like, listen, get out to New York, and I'd be happy to host you, and I'll get you
that's amazing.
Connect you with other podcasters. One person who I can't wait to get on, he's flying from Washington State. His name is Grant Curtis, and he owns this brand called United by Sobriety, and it's a great brand, man. Like he has his own sobriety journey as well, and he's created apparel, like lifestyle apparel, and I'm a huge advocate for him, and I want him to be really successful, and I think I could help him in this market out here. So that's something, a partnership that I'm hoping to grow. So it's like a bunch of things that I'm really looking forward to, and then the one thing with the events is, your next event needs to always top the previous one. And you want people leaving your events asking you when the next one is.
Isn't that the hardest thing to do? Is like, especially when you throw a huge banger of an event,
top the next one.
You go, what the heck am I going to do next?
Yeah,
how am I going to top that?
You got to be creative, and you got to stay innovative, and you got to always keep them guessing. But at the end of the day, it's their experiences, and at the end of the day, people, they'll remember the flowers, they'll remember the backdrop, but they'll really remember how they feel during the event and leaving the event.
Yes,
and that's what I specialize in. Making people feel.
It's the experience.
It's the experience, man.
They remember the experience.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it, man.
My man's fucking killing it. Getting shit done around here.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We got to do an event, guys.
I'm into it. Well, now we have someone that can help us because we've always kind of just put it to the side because we're like, we don't have time to put an event together. It's how do the fuck do we do that?
Yeah.
But it was great having you on.
Dude, it's great.
Thank you so
here.
much for coming. Man. It's
we got some food for you too if you're hungry.
Sure.
I think my wife
we
made
like to
lasagna.
give you the red carpet at this part of the podcast. Kind of just plug away where people can find you, socials, websites. The carpet
plug away, man.
Yeah, plug away. The carpet is yours, my friend.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. Really, seriously, this was such a cool conversation, and I love that it was hilarious. Also, because
we go off the rails.
I like to laugh. But yeah, you can reach me at on Instagram at Adam Vohra _ You can reach me at Finding Purpose Pod. Those are probably the two best ways to reach me. Obviously, you can reach out to these two as well, and they can connect me with you as well. But if you're looking for an event in the New York metro area, if you have a powerful story that you overcame an obstacle and you want to share how you became more grounded in your purpose, feel free to reach out. I'd love to connect with you, whether it's on the podcast or in general. Always looking to help people grow. So thank you guys.
Love it. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it, Adam.
So listen, if you guys like this episode, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell. You'll be notified. Follow Adam on his stuff. Follow us. Dapper Cigar, Brother Cigar, Burnout Podcast. You know the drill. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys, and we'll see you at the next one. So Eric, send them off, baby.
As we like to say on the show, my friend, cheers, chin chin, and salute.